It's been some time since I've been live. Let me make sure that this is working and I have time to, or I have time to tweet it out. Why did I say that I have time? Of course I have time. I'm here speaking and I'm complaining about having time to tweet something out that's live. All right, it's live. Share it. Carrot. Are good games enough? What did Phil mean? All right. All right, that should be tweeted out. So this is going to be off the cuff. I don't have the exact words that were spoken in this interview, but I know the gist of it. I listened to it. I made sure to listen to it several times so that I don't get something wrong or I don't sort of misinterpret or misquote. And I wanted to talk about it because there's a lot in it that I agree with. And there's a lot that I feel is still sort of trying to push some things under the rug when it comes to some poor decisions from the top, from Phil Spencer on down. So the first thing that he said was that, and this is something that I found a little bit strange because now I'm not in the industry. I don't create video games. I have never made a video game, but I've lived well past 40 years on this earth. And I know what has to happen when somebody asks you to do something. So when he said that maybe they should engage with these teams earlier on to make sure that these problems are addressed throughout the development cycle up until the end when the games are released, I thought to myself, isn't that something that you're supposed to do anyway? Isn't he supposed to know at that point that, I mean, he's the head of everything. At some point along the way, he had a lesser job, right? He was somebody else. Then he came in as an intern and then he learned and he did something else and he moved up. And along the way, at each of those different rungs of employment, you would think that you learn this stuff. And then when you're the head of everything, the idea that you don't know that you're supposed to interface with people at the beginning, middle, and end of a project to make sure that it releases in a really competent state. To me, that seemed really strange that he didn't know that. And he hinted that maybe he should do that, or maybe they should start doing that. And he also said that they did that with Starfield. When they purchased Bethesda, Starfield, they rushed in all of their teams to make sure it was good. Well, if they knew to do it then, why did they not know to do it with Redfall? It's a strange thing that he said during that interview, which, I don't know, I felt like he should have known this. This is something that, the head of anything would know. It'd be like, if the president of, pick a company said, oh, I didn't know that I had to pay taxes. I thought somebody else did that. I thought our company just took care of that. Well, you know that there are certain things that you have to do. So for him to say, I didn't know, or we should have interfaced earlier on in the development of Redfall, of course you should have done that. That should have been something that happened naturally. So that was really strange. The one thing people are keying on in this interview, and this is something that just, at first I thought to myself, am I hearing this? Is this actually, are these words actually coming out of his mouth? And like everything else, and this isn't just a Phil Spencer thing, okay? This is anybody. Anybody in charge of anything is going to double speak. You have to make sure that you say a little bit of the truth, but you also have to make sure that you toe the company line. I don't fault him for that. He gets paid to do that. That's what he's supposed to do. It's like going to the Ford dealer and saying, tell me what you think about the new Chevy, because I'm thinking about buying that. What do you think the Ford dealer is going to say? Of course he's going to tell you all the problems with Chevy. Of course he's going to try and convince you to buy that Ford. So not a big deal. But he said that good games aren't going to solve their problem. Now, taken at face value, that sounds insane. It sounds like a crazy person. It sounds like somebody who's off their lithium. But I feel like if you think about what he said, because he followed it up with something else, which was very important. Johnny Mac 024, welcome to stream. He says, crazy what happened yesterday. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. It was a little crazy. But he said that good games won't solve their problems. And a lot of people think, well, he meant that no matter what, creating good games isn't going to fix the problem that they're in. And maybe he means that they're not interested in creating good games. That doesn't matter to them if they create good games. So why create them? Because they're not going to change the position that they're in. Now, you could take it that way, and it certainly isn't something that I would have said. But here's the issue. The position that they're in, they created that position by not creating great games. Let's take the 11 out of 10 reference. An 11 out of 10 Starfield isn't going to force people to sell their PlayStation 5s. Of course it isn't. But you know what would have changed the dynamic? 11 out of 10 games throughout the course of multiple generations, an expectation of quality. PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3. Look at what Sony did when they got their teeth stomped in by the Xbox 360. What did they do? Did they say to themselves, we're in a position that we put ourselves in? And they did say that. If you look at Sean Layden's interview, he says it very candidly. Hubris. Hubris is the reason Sony ended up in that position. What did they do? Did they say, you know what, guys, we're in this position. No matter what we do, we're not going to be able to get out of it. What did they do? They said to themselves, what are our strengths? Let's double down on creating really, really good content. And maybe that will differentiate our brand going forward, because we did that in the past and we got away from it. Let's do that, ride out this generation, see what happens. Sure enough, they end up winning that generation. However, they handed a ton of market share to the Xbox and the Xbox 360 because of that hubris. But the point is, they didn't say to themselves, no matter what we do, we're always going to be in this position. They created great games and got themselves out of it. Microsoft is in that position now. And yes, he's right when he says that creating 11 out of 10 games isn't going to change people walking into a store and buying PlayStations and Nintendos. Xbox is always going to be in third place. He's correct when he says that. However, he's leaving out the fact that they're in that position. Microsoft is in this position. They're in third place. They're the last choice for consumers when they walk into a store because they didn't create those great 11 out of 10 games throughout multiple generations. They didn't create that expectation. That's what drives these consumers to move from one platform to the next. Johnny Mac 024 is in here saying, my thing is, why build the world's most powerful console? Now I'm not sure what to do with my Series X now. Not a Game Pass fan. Yeah, I mean, it's their job. It's their job to create something that they say is the most powerful. That's great. Let's say they did that. But how do they prove that to you? Right? Are you an engineer? Do you know how things work within a console? How do they prove it to you? How do they prove it to just the layman out there? By creating great first-party titles that look better than almost anything that you can get on a competing platform. Now, he's complaining that even if they do that, they're not going to change their fortunes. And of course they're not now. But what he conveniently leaves out is that they're in this position now that they can't get out of because they didn't create those games in the past. DeFloyd says, what's up, peeps? Jimmy Harrison. Well, Worry, what's up, bro? Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by. So, of course, if they had created great games in the past, the expectation would be different and the console SKU would be different now. People would expect Xbox to give you those great experiences that Sony and Nintendo give you. There would be that expectation. Things would be different now as opposed to where they are here. So he's 100% correct. This is why I have such a problem with this. I don't want to say I have a problem with the executives saying things like this. Again, they're supposed to say stuff like this. The problem is these unpaid cheerleaders on social media who just cannot or will not or won't tell you the truth. For some reason, it's hits, it's subscriber counts, it's ad revenue. None of it means anything. It's all bullshit. All of it is bullshit. The truth is, you're a fan of video games. We're essentially all children buying toys to play with them. Johnny Mac Zero says, my only hope is a Gears of War remake. Oh, I don't want another Gears of War remake. We had that already. Lord. And a Halo remake. Oh, God. Undead and Forza is the same. Well, yeah, Forza. But you've got to just tell people the truth. Saying that you're in a position that you can't get out of because no matter what you do, everybody wants to buy a PlayStation anyway because their digital games are already there. That's something else he referenced. They lost the worst generation. This is exactly the double talk that I cannot stand. We lost. I'm like a stuttering prick. We lost the worst generation to lose. The Xbox One generation. That's what he said, right? We lost the worst generation to lose. So of all the generations to lose, they lost the worst one, and that's why they're in the position that they're in. That's his sort of framework when answering this question. Johnny Mac Zero agreed. True Virgil, how you doing? Phil looks too good to defy him. Phil looks too good to defy him. You like the way Phil Spencer looks? Is that what you're saying? You think he looks sexy? He's a sexy man. He looks too good to defy? Okay. Mark, haha. Don't know what that meant. So they lost the Xbox One generation, and that's the generation when everybody built their digital library. So he's inferring that once you build that digital library, you're not going to go anywhere else, no matter what another platform offers. So that was the generation they had to win, but they didn't. Why didn't you win that generation, Phil? That's what I would have asked. But for some reason, the panel in a green room with a giant X on the desk didn't ask that question. They lost that generation because they weren't focused in on the very thing that he's saying won't help them now. And that's making great games. If they had done that, then they wouldn't be in this position. Yes, they're in this position, and yes, no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to out-console Sony and Nintendo. But my next question to him, if I was on that panel, and this is why I'm not there, is because I'd actually ask, coherent, logical questions and follow-ups. You lost that generation because you didn't do what you're saying that if you do now won't help you, and that's create great games. So, if they had done that, if they had started from the Xbox, the OG Xbox, and built first-party teams and recognized talent and fostered that talent and allowed these groups of developers to stay together throughout the development process of really great games and took the second and third shot at those IPs, they'd be in a different position now. So yes, when he says that no matter what they do, an 11 out of 10 Starfield, people aren't selling PlayStation 5s, that's just the dynamic. He is correct, but he is leaving out the reason that they're in this position to begin with, and he's leaving it out because he knows it's their fault. Mark, it's all about games. That's why it's called a games console. I'd buy an Xbox again if they talk less and made some good games. Exactly. We're all here for games. You look on Twitter today. I won't name names. Oh, who cares about console sales? Microsoft's making so much money. They make so much money. Have you seen their spreadsheet? I take their spreadsheet and I rub it all over my body at night. Who cares about games? Spreadsheets. The word spread before the word sheet gets me excited. Okay, so what are we rooting for? Are we rooting for a company to make a ton of money? Or are we rooting for video games to play? Good games to play? True Virgil, the thing about what he said was that even if someone won't sell their PlayStation to pick up an Xbox, won't they pick up an Xbox in addition to play the game they want? Yes, they will. Now, there's a very, very small market of people who are multi-platform gamers. For instance, I have a PlayStation 5, an Xbox Series X, and a Switch. Now, if I'm playing a great first-party game on the PlayStation 5, I am not turning off the PlayStation 5 and turning on the Xbox Series X for a third-party game. Now, Microsoft pitched the idea that you would do that because there'd be a couple of extra frames per second and maybe some more lines of resolution. But nobody really does that. Nobody plays Horizon Forbidden West and then says, you know what? I'm going to shut it off now and go play that third-party game on the Xbox. No, they just stick with the platform that's delivering great content. That's why you see third-party games selling so well on PlayStation. What Microsoft did is create this environment where nobody wants to buy anything, and hopefully third parties will say, this is great. Look at all the people who are just going to turn on this game and play it for a little while. And we'll get a check from Microsoft up front. I can't imagine a world where you could honestly believe that anybody out there that's a creative person that's making a video game, and maybe I'm wrong, but if you're talking about these big teams like Jedi Survivor, take a look at Jedi Survivor. Do you think they're just, while they're making that game, they're going to say, you know what, let's just take a check up front and throw it in Game Pass? Of course not. They want to make tons and tons and tons of money. Everybody wants a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with that. And then later on, they'll go to Netflix because that's what everybody else does. Nintendo Cove. Hey, what's going on, Sean? My Xbox Series X is an awesome paperweight. Man, it looks like the monolith. My God, it's full of stars. Johnny Mac, agree, WW. That's me. Johnny Mac 024. I own all and to worry word. You're typing a little too fast, Johnny. Mark, I've always had all games to the Xbox S and got rid of after 4 months and have PlayStation only. Yeah, I had an Xbox S because I couldn't find an Xbox Series X for a few months too, but then I found the X and I got rid of the S. And, it's hard to just try and be honest about things because, there's this perception that you're not going to get a lot of followers, you're not going to get a lot of subscribers, you're not going to have a successful YouTube channel or social media channel. I'm too old for any of that. I don't care if people subscribe to me. Would it be nice? Yes. I don't care if people throw money into a super chat. Would that be nice? Sure. If people want to hand me $1, I'll take it, but I don't need it. I just don't care about anything other than being completely blown away by every single generation of video games that I'm in, because that's how I've been since the Atari. Nintendo Code. Microsoft need to learn from how Nintendo and Sony run their platforms. There's a reason why they are still thriving in this industry. Absolutely. It's not a coincidence. It's not like, you need somebody to get binoculars and read the plays. There's a playbook that's been around since the beginning of these of consoles. It's not some new thing. Just make some great games. Create things that identify your platform to a group of consumers. Microsoft's biggest problem is they couldn't reach the core consumers in this market, so they just pretended that the 2 billion people outside are going to be just like us and sit there playing like Gears of War on virtual keys on a 7-inch, 10-inch smartphone screen. It's just obviously that's not happening. Cloud is not happening the way that they wanted it to. So let's get back to creating some great video games for the platform. Make something that says Series X can only be done on Series X. Do something like that. Would it change where they are right now? According to Phil Spencer, no. According to me, no, it wouldn't. But again, he's leaving out the fact that he is in that position. Xbox is in that position because they didn't do the work before. And that work was creating those 11 out of 10 experiences. Johnny Mac 024 says, meant I own all and just want the best for all my systems. Yeah, absolutely. Nintendo Cove. Sorry, I'm using my phone. Can't type. No problem. I'm going to take a sip of this sexy juice I have here. That's why I stay so sexy and sound so creamy, steamy and dreamy. Creating great games won't help us. It's a little defeatist. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't have said it. I found it to be, I would say, shocking. And at some points, I actually found it to be refreshing. Like when he said, we're in third place. and that's where we are. Okay, great. Great to hear you say that. But I want to hear a plan as to how you believe, even if you don't believe you can. How could you get out of that position? What could you do maybe to get out of that position? Don't talk to me about expectations. Don't talk to me about digital libraries. Don't talk to me about this is where we are. Nothing can change it. There's nothing we can do. It doesn't matter if we give away free candy and blowjobs with every game. We're always going to be in third place. Talk to me about how you're going to create great video games. Mark says, I'm full PlayStation now, but Halo 1 on the Xbox and the 360 was so good, but they lost me now, to be honest. They talk way too much and release too many controllers and not enough good games. Yeah, the controller thing is, that's just another topic altogether. But if you truly believe that no matter what you do, you can't out console. So for instance, they're never going to sell as many consoles as PlayStation or Xbox. Just by saying that, you're admitting that at one point in time, you believed that you could do that, because you wouldn't say it now. It wouldn't be something that you would even think about if it wasn't on your mind before. And if it was on your mind before to sell Xboxes, to get into the console space, to make Xbox a console that people wanted, then why are you in this position now? Talk about those reasons. Ask those follow-up questions. There's a reason why people were, whoever that panel was stroking Phil Spencer off. Thank you for coming in here. You didn't need to do this. Oh my God, this is why we love you so much, because even in the dark times, you shine a light, and you'll take all the criticism. Johnny Mac Zero, need Jay Allard back. So talk about how you can get out of that position. Don't tell me that if you create if Microsoft in the next 2 years, let's say Starfield comes out and it is an 11 out of 10, okay? And then let's say Avowed comes out and that's a 9 out of 10. And then let's say Perfect Dark comes out and that's a 9 out of 10. You're telling me, Phil Spencer, you don't believe that that's going to change perception of some people out there in the market? Here's something else that I cannot believe wasn't even addressed. King 405 King LOL and a bunch of smiley faces. Here's something that even wasn't addressed, okay? He's talking about the fact that nobody's going to buy an Xbox now because they lost a generation that they shouldn't have lost, the Xbox One generation. And once people built their digital libraries, they're not going to switch now no matter what. Okay. What about next generation? How about working to change that narrative next generation? 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. You can start doing it right now. You're admitting the position that you're in is one that you created by not making great games in the past. So how about making them now so that maybe in the future that dynamic can change? Johnny Mac 024, I think Microsoft wants to Apple and Google through Xbox. I have no idea. I think definitely we're looking at the slide into third party when it comes to Xbox. We've already got Xbox isn't a console anymore. You can't even think, when you think about Xbox, you're not even supposed to think about a box, even though the word box is in the title. You're just supposed to think about this cloud that's floating around that, if somebody on a subway wants to play Forza, they can. And if somebody, in a cave hiding because they just, illegally killed a bear with an M16, they could play Halo on their knapsack. That's what Xbox is. It's not a box anymore, even though they're selling a product. This is why it's so difficult. You can't put a product on a shelf next to other products and then say, these other products, the things that make them sell, that's not what we are. Then why are you sitting there on that shelf? Get off the shelf, become a third-party publisher, and supply cloud to Nintendo if they need it, which they do, and PlayStation if they want it. Do that. Johnny Mac Zero, Xbox wants to... Okay, I already read that. So just do that. Go third-party. I got to sip some more sexy juice. I don't know. I was baffled by it. The idea that, and I'm not saying that he's saying this, but when he said it, I almost felt like, all right, I've been around the block. True Virgil. I have a lot of customers that work for Microsoft. Most of them don't like Xbox leadership. I have no idea how to confirm or deny that, but I'm in Seattle, by the way. Oh boy, Seattle. I hope things are a little better out there. The fact that the head of Xbox said, and again, let me preface this by saying, I don't make video games. I've never made a video game, okay? Ever. However, I've lived quite a long time. And if I went somewhere, let's say I go to the Nike factory, and it just so happens that that day, the head of Nike is there, and I'm talking to him or her, gotta be correct, it's 2023, and they say to me, you know, it's strange, but I was thinking maybe I should sort of, talk to my vendors and suppliers and figure out how much leather and string costs. Maybe I could lower our operating cost a bit. I would say, aren't you the president and haven't you figured that out by now? Maybe like when you were a manager, you realized that and you took that information and knowledge with you when you were promoted to your next position. So when Phil Spencer says, we may need to engage with our teams sooner in their creative and development process to ensure that some of these issues don't happen. Of course, you're supposed to already know that. That's something he's supposed to already know. And the fact that he's saying that is frightening. It's frightening. And I use the word frightening because I don't like to say frightening. I like to make it 3 syllables because I don't know. I just like to do it. I just cannot understand why he would say something like that. In addition to the fact that great games won't help us. And a lot of people are taking that and leaving that second part out. And I get it. It looks good on Twitter. It's going to get you a lot of followers. People are going to go crazy. I'm not trying to defend in any way, shape, or form Xbox or Phil Spencer or the position that they're in. What I'm saying is great games won't change where we are is true when he says that. He's correct. I had a burp. He's absolutely correct. So the idea that he's saying that it doesn't matter if they make great games or he doesn't care, that's all conjecture, right? That's all people on social media, people that hate Xbox, people who created channels and have tons of followers around saying that consistently. That's what they're going to say. Now you have to infer that he means that. I don't know that he means that. He just said making great games won't change where we are. Now, does that mean that he doesn't care about making great games because it's not going to change where they are and they don't care? I don't know. What I'm saying is he could have changed the position that they were in. They could have changed the position that they were in if over the course of multiple generations. How about that generation that they lost, the worst one to lose, the Xbox One generation? What did they do? They launched with good software, most of it third party, and then what happened? Television. Let's get into this, let's get into that so that we can dominate this space rather than think about creatively working our way into that space. That's the problem Microsoft has. You can't buy influence. You cannot buy creativity. You've got to create your way into the hole and then spread out. I don't know why I use that reference. There's something wrong with my brain. Mark says they're literally talking like they just started out in gaming, and I think that that is an accurate statement. They are literally saying things that just do not make much sense, and this is why Activision, Blizzard, and King was such a big deal to them, because Microsoft was so caught up in going to court in the early 2000s because the United States was taking them to court for anti-consumer and monopolistic practices. You don't say. They were so caught up in that they missed mobile. They missed the mobile phone. They just completely missed that market. And now what happens? They see cloud. They see streaming. They say, we've got Azure. let's not miss this if it happens to be the next big thing in the future. But what they did is they tried to backdoor everybody. They tried to say, no. We're all about competition, but let's look at cloud and streaming as a house. You got a first floor, a second floor, a third floor. You've got the ground that the house is on. You've got the cement, the bricks, all that stuff. What Microsoft wanted to do is buy all of the vendors, the people that make cement, the people that make the ground, the people that make the wood, all of that right out from underneath everybody, and then say, it'll be fair. The market's open. But you own everything already. And that's why the CMA, the Country Music Awards, let's give it up for the Country Music Awards. They came in there and they said, get out of here. We don't even like country music. Blocked. True Virgil. Phil looked defeated. I think he is on the way out. I have no idea how they decide who stays and who goes. I'm not advocating for people to lose their jobs. Certainly, I don't think he'll be, he's not hurting for cash, let's say. I'm just talking as somebody who's been a fan of video games for a long time. It's very frustrated that I can't get a decent video game from a first-party studio out of Microsoft. It's been 21 years now, other than ones that they purchased. Gears purchased, Forza purchased, Halo purchased. B-Money 101 says, what up, Worry? What's going on, B-Money? How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate that. Well, when I say small, I mean small channels. Obviously, I'm a large, beautiful man with amazing hair and teeth. I'm about to sip some of my sexy juice. Hold on. Oh, yeah, it's good. So, they've got to create good games. That's just, that's like basic. That's like saying, I want to learn how to play baseball, but I don't want to use a bat. Well, you're going to have to. Not only that, but you're going to have to learn how to swing. And you're going to have to be able to take a few misses and get back up to the plate until you hit that ball. And that's what Microsoft doesn't want to do. They don't want to do the work. I use this analogy all the time with Mooch. Take your favorite artists. And if you don't know any, then you should know some. Take your favorite artists, painters. They all get together once a month and talk about art. Microsoft's the guy who's like, I don't want to paint. I hate painting. Fuck painting. I don't want to do that, but I love painters, and I want to be in on that party. So what do? Well, they buy the building where all of those artists go to talk once a month, and once they own the building, they just show up and say, hey, guys, what's going on? And all the artists are looking around saying, why are they here? Well, they own the building. Ah, shit. That's what they want. You've got to start making good video games. I don't care what anybody says. The idea that you cannot get out of the position that you're in, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear we are going to fight. We want your money. We want gamers to be wowed by our first-party studios. And if we stay in third place, we'll stay in third place, but we're going to be the best third place you've ever seen. We're going to have content so much better than everyone else, graphically, gameplay-wise, everything. And if we are in third place, great, but we're going to fight tooth and nail to get out of this position that we're in. We're not just going to accept it. We're not just going to say, we're here now and there's nothing we can do, and blame it on Xbox One generation because everybody built up their digital library, so now there's nothing we can do. You could have done something during that generation, but you stopped. It's your fault you're here. Do something about it. And this is why I feel like it's unfair now for the team building Starfield. Think about the pressure that they have now. I don't think Microsoft's released a game that's been a sub 60 yet. And Redfall is that. What is Redfall at right now? Hold on, I'm going to check. Metacritic is games. Redfall. Where the hell is Redfall? Oh my God. Are you ready? Redfall is at a 59. Redfall, first party, big, new IP. Remember when he said during that interview, I feel good about the things that I'm seeing. I feel good about Starfield. I've seen Avowed. I could see it, he said. I could see it. It's so frustrating. I could see it. Guys, he said the same thing about Redfall. He said the exact same thing before it released. I've gone and I've seen it. It looks so good. I can't wait. And here we are to 59. So why believe that what he's seen of anything else is going to be different? That's the frustration that many people have. Stop talking. Shut up and produce. We got an old saying in Sicily: shit or get the fuck off the pot. Period. We got one bathroom, 40 people in this house. Are you going to take the dump? Get out, because somebody else has got to get in there. Get it done. That's what people want. They want good content. They don't care about the position that you're in. Consumers walking out to buy video games or buy consoles, they're not walking into the store saying, you know, before I look around, I really need to see the financial statement. Why did I say statement? The financial statement of Xbox, Microsoft, PlayStation, Sony, and Nintendo. I need to see that before I purchase these consoles. They don't do that. They hear from their friends about this incredible game, Starfield. They hear from their friends about this incredible game, Halo Infinite, or Crackdown 3. Again, another one, right? I feel good about the things that I've seen. I've seen Starfield. I've seen Avowed. We got Forza coming. He mentioned these indie games that have already released now, and they're in their 60s. They're in the 60s. Okay? But Crackdown 3, right? We were delaying Crackdown 3. I'm going to delay Crackdown 3 because I want it to sit next to Halo, Gears, and Forza. And then he says that, and Crackdown 3 comes out. Now, I have more hours in Crackdown 3 than any human being on the face of the planet. You can go check it out. I don't hide my gamer, whatever you think that shit is. Achievements and trophies. It means nothing, but you can go check that. I love Crackdown 3. I had a lot of fun with it. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a good game. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's a reason for me to buy an Xbox. But he did. He wanted to delay it to make it just as good as the tentpole franchises. And it turned out that way. He said, I've seen Redfall. It looks fantastic. And it turned out this way. During the latest interview that I'm talking about right now, he said, I've seen Starfield. I've seen Avowed. I've seen it! And it's going to be great. Aren't we tired of this? I'm tired. I want something great. Even if it isn't good. And guys, you can check out my video on Horizon Forbidden West, the DLC, Burning Shores. I did not like that. I thought it was I just didn't like it. But holy shit, is it an amazing looking game. I can't deny its quality. I could appreciate the fact that they went all in on the quality. Absolutely. It's going to pull people to the platform. When you look at that and you take a look at Redfall, of course people are going to say, wow, what is that? That's what I'm looking for from Microsoft. Why is that too much to ask? And why can't anybody on these podcasts or interview panels or social media platforms, why can't anybody just stop with the bullshit? It's a toy. It's a toy. We're playing with toys. We're arguing about toys. You buy a toy to play with it. Imagine if you bought a toy and they say, do us a favor. We're not selling a lot of these toys compared to the other toy on the shelf right there that you can buy, by the way. There it is right there. Everybody likes that toy. It's selling like crazy, but don't buy it because we have a toy here that isn't selling as well. In fact, our toy is in last place, but if you buy it, you won't be able to play with it. Why would you buy it? Give us a reason to play with the toy. You've got to create video games. I could not believe some of the things that were said in this interview, and I could not believe some of the things that weren't asked in this video. The follow-up question is not some skill that has to be learned. If somebody says something to you that doesn't make any sense, follow up. Ask a question. Hey, I've seen these games coming. I could see it. I could taste it. He hinted that all of these games coming were going to change the fortunes of Xbox. I've seen Starfield. I've seen a really good build of Avowed. He said that. I've seen it. I could taste it. Okay, Phil, here's my question. You said that about Redfall. You said that about Crackdown 3. You said that about Halo Infinite. Why should we believe you now? What's going to change? Help me understand it. Not some bad thing to ask that question. Wouldn't you want to understand what he's talking about? Otherwise, he just sounds like a fluffer. He's fluffing and fluffing and fluffing, and nobody's getting hard. At some point, we either got to bring in the Viagra, or we got to just call it quits. Start making documentary films or something. Something's got to give. This was probably one of the most frustrating things to watch when it comes to Phil Spencer and some of the things that he said. However, I will say that I found it to be refreshing that he at least admits that they're in third place. I found it refreshing that he admitted that even creating 11 out of 10 games won't make people sell their PlayStation 5s. I get that. He gets that. We all understand that. But Phil and that green panel that were essentially like making love to him with their eyes, you're in that position. Not because you lost the Xbox One generation. That didn't help. But you're in that position because when everyone else was working to develop teams and studios and games and new IPs, you and Xbox and Microsoft weren't doing it. True Virgil. I never understood the only hardcore gamers have multiple consoles. Everyone around me has a Switch and a PlayStation. People I work with and customers I've done work for, people at bars, concerts. This is a long one. You didn't finish it. So essentially you're saying people have multiple consoles. Here's my thing though. People buy a primary console and then you hear it all the time, a Nintendo. Happens all the time. Nobody really buys 3 consoles. There aren't many people that have PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X's and Switch. They just don't. Mark, I won't sell my PS5, but I may buy an Xbox if they make some games. Go figure. That sounds crazy to me. Why would you buy a video game console if they've got good video games? Absolutely insane. So he's saying that they're in this position. There's nothing they can do about it because they lost the Xbox One generation. Nobody on that panel, by the way, said, why did you lose the Xbox One generation? He admitted they lost it. Wouldn't you ask yourself, how do you think you lost that generation, Phil? How do you think you lost that generation? I'm interested in your input since you're in charge and you just told us that you lost the Xbox One generation. How did you lose it? What caused you to lose that generation, Phil? And if he's honest, he'll answer, they made ridiculous decisions. They lost sight of who their audience was. They lost sight of everything. It was hubris. And it was a need to dominate through entertainment and a bunch of different mediums coming together. That's what he would say. Just like Sean Layden said, that it was hubris and arrogance that led to the PlayStation 3 coming off of the PlayStation 2, the most successful Sony PlayStation ever. And price point. And a development platform that no developer wanted to work with. And they learned their lesson. And what did they do to get out of that situation? They did exactly what Phil Spencer is saying wouldn't make a difference now. Create great games, create a great system, make a friendly environment for developers, get a price point that's right, all of that stuff. At this point, making great games would help. You're not going to be in second place. You're not going to be in first place. Xbox never was. And by the way, Xbox first-party content was never that great, guys. A Zurich, Rise of Parathia. What else? What's the cat game? Blinks the Time Sweeper. These games weren't good. They weren't good. Fable was good. Knights of the Republic was good. Third party. Fable was third party too as well. And how did they get those games? By the way, these nefarious deals. Something else I wanted to talk about. He said there are some not nefarious, discreet. There's some discreet deals that make it hard for Xbox to be Xbox. That's what Phil Spencer said. Well, again, I'm sitting there on the panel. I would say, well, Phil, you mean like having Call of Duty map packs first on the Xbox 360? Making it hard for PlayStation to be PlayStation? You mean like launching a system a full year earlier to get a head start, making it hard for PlayStation to be PlayStation? You mean like getting de facto exclusives like BioShock and Mass Effect because you launched a full year early, making it hard for PlayStation to be PlayStation? Is that what you mean by discrete deals that make it hard for Xbox to be Xbox? I've got news for you. I don't know if you've ever been alive on the planet Earth before, but when you're in a market, your competitors aren't supposed to make it easy for you to be who you are. They're supposed to fight to get the money out of my pocket into their pocket. And you're supposed to try and get the money out of my pocket into your pocket. They're not supposed to make it easy for Xbox to be Xbox. You didn't make it easy for PlayStation to be PlayStation when every map pack was first, I think, for a year. Did you make it easy for PlayStation to be PlayStation when you paid for Tomb Raider for a whole friggin' year? Why did you do that? Did PlayStation say they're making it difficult for us to be PlayStation? They didn't. Johnny Mac 024, so true. Everything brought from companies and zero in-house growth studio. Yeah. So PlayStation didn't say, well, this is making it difficult for us to be PlayStation. They launched their hey guys, they launched their console a year earlier. That's not fair. They're making it difficult for us to be PlayStation. They're getting all these third-party games first on their platform. And by the way, their platform is running these games better because these developers have had a full year ahead of us to run with it because they launched it a year earlier. They're making it really difficult for us to be PlayStation. It's not fair. It's a discrete deal. We don't like it. It's got to stop. What did they do? They put their head down and they worked. Put your head down and get to work. Don't have an excuse ready every time something comes out. And it's always something from the peanut gallery. It's not Microsoft's fault. They didn't own. It's Bethesda's fault. They're hands off. Microsoft's hands off, guys. They're hands off. If somebody takes a shit in somebody's hat, it's not Microsoft's fault. Yes, they own the company. Yes, they own the bathrooms. Yes, they own the building those people are working in. Yes, they pay for the janitor to come in and clean the hat. But it's not their fault. Of course it's their fault. The idea that they don't have this hands-on, everything's hands-on. Guys, make what you want. Make whatever you want. We don't care what you do. We don't even want to see it. We won't even look at it until it comes out and it's a 59. We don't care. I don't know where any of you work, but that just doesn't happen in real life. When you're owned by somebody, when somebody's your boss, they're going to look at what you're doing, and they have an idea of what they want, and they're going to let you know it, period. We got a subscription service, cloud. We want people to subscribe. How do they stay subscribed? Co-op, online, games as a service, microtransactions, wink, wink, nod, nod. But do whatever you want. We don't care. We just wanted you to know that that's what we're into. Wink, wink, nod, nod. By the way, we pay your salary. We just wanted you to know that that's what we're into. But go ahead, do whatever you want. We'll be back to check on it. And sure enough, coincidentally, when they come back and check, guess what it is? Games as a service, co-op style, but you can kind of play it by yourself, but you really can't because it's designed for 4 people. And if you play it by yourself, you're going to get the shit kicked out of you. And the design elements don't make sense for a solo play, but it just happened by accident. Bethesda, right? The team, Arcane Austin went from Dishonored and Prey to Redfall by accident. by accident. It just happened. They went from Dishonored and Prey, both graphically, gameplay-wise, design, and aesthetic. They went from that to Redfall. By accident, guys. It's an accident. We have no idea how it happened. We're not even going to talk about how it happened. We're not even going to have a follow-up question as to why it happened. Because our panel's green. We've got a big black X on our desk. Why ask those questions? These are the questions that need to be asked. These are the things that need to be brought up. I'm very excited for Starfield, guys. I'll be honest with you. I think after this debacle, I like saying debacle, but I know it's debacle. Sometimes I do that with words, so if you hear me do that, it's not because I don't know how to speak. It's because I'm fucking insane. Debacle. Because of the debacle of Redfall, I'm telling you right now, I know this is a fact. Right now, everybody in that studio has got anybody and everybody from Microsoft in terms of hardware teams, backdoor teams, whatever, making sure that that console purrs when that game comes out. I did like that dramatic pause there, like William Shatner used to do in Star Trek. Trust me when I say, this game, can you imagine if this game comes out and it is in such rough shape, almost as rough shape as Redfall? If this game comes out and it is in any other state other than at least an 8 out of 10, I think we're going to see the end of Xbox as a console. I really do. I think we're already there. We're in this slow slide towards, we're going to be the best third-party publisher ever. We're going to be the best third-party provider ever of a service like Game Pass. We're going to be like EA with EA Play. If you'll have us PlayStation, if you'll have us next Nintendo system. And we're going to make great first-party games that everyone's going to want on their next PlayStation, on their next Nintendo, and on PC. I think we're there. I think we're getting there much faster than anyone thought. And I hate to be the one to say that, but I think it's true. Starfield needs to come out and be stellar. Now, Todd Howard and the gang have never really released a game at launch that's been stellar. Tons of problems with Fallout, even Skyrim. If you look back to the launch of Skyrim, which I think is one of the best, if not the best, role-playing game ever. Love Skyrim. But they can't afford to have that happen anymore. And it's unfair on the team developing Starfield. It's Microsoft's fault. It's Microsoft and Xbox fault. Microsoft first-party team's worst enemy is Microsoft. Think about that. These teams' worst enemy right now is Microsoft's mismanagement of other projects that have put so much pressure on their other teams to be good that it's almost impossible at this point. And that's not fair. That's not fair. No amount of complaining from YouTubers with small audiences like myself, or YouTubers with big audiences like myself, or YouTubers with, YouTubers with huge audiences that love Xbox, that constantly praise it. Nothing can change the fact that Starfield needs to be fantastic, or else, you're already seeing it. You're already seeing some of these people who are in love with Xbox to the point where their social media platforms are just exploding because they're either loving Xbox or because they've, all of a sudden they're critiquing Xbox every single day and they're gaining traction that way. You're already seeing the people who are in love with Xbox really starting to say, it's getting a bit old. It's getting a bit stale. The bread's really hard. You're telling me it's fresh, but I think it's stale. Johnny Mac 024 says, remember Fallout 77? Wasn't it 76? Fallout 76? Yeah, Fallout 76. That's another thing. I've also seen people talk about Redfall and reference State of Decay 2. And they say things like, well, when State of Decay 2 launched, it was terrible. It was in a terrible state. But over the years, through patches and updates, it's now playable. In fact, it's pretty good. I don't see anybody playing it. Hasn't really moved the needle for Xbox at all. But the idea that you can launch a game and have it be so poor and that maybe in the future it's going to be better and that's your excuse, again, I'm not built like that. If you're soft and built like that, that's fine, but I'm just not built like that. If you're going to say you're going to do something, do it. Show me. Don't use the internet as a crutch for poor development. Don't use the internet as a crutch for not being able to say we need more time. Don't use the internet as a crutch for not being able to say, hey, we wanted to take some more time, but Microsoft said no. You're starting to see some developers come out and hint that that might be the issue. Curiously tweeting and then retweeting and then deleting. So, again, I don't want to get into this point where it's all doom and gloom, but I think that Starfield needs to be a hit. It needs to come out and be polished. It needs to come out and have really great story and characters and worlds to explore. It's not enough for it to have character models that look like Skyrim. It's not enough for it to have really generic lip syncing. It's not enough. You cannot have that in the game like that. You cannot have it. You cannot make your best foot forward the worst foot forward. They've already... I'm just losing my train of thought here. I'm so frustrated. They've already demonstrated that they just cannot get a good game out the door. They've already demonstrated that they have a large group or a semi-large group of people that are extremely loud on social media that'll somehow make that okay. Or make the idea that patches will help in the future. Or make the idea that, oh, well, if you're complaining about it, you're really not a gamer. You're really not a gamer if you're complaining about it. How are you a gamer if you're talking about Microsoft making so much money? Who cares? They're making so much money. Who cares? Why would you care about how much money they're making versus a toy in your hand that you can play with that's good? True Virgil, it's not fair. Microsoft did not get Activision, so they can't compete. Microsoft wanted Activision for one reason, and that's so that they can strangle everybody else out if cloud became a thing. Which maybe, 30 years from now, after we master how to transport each other back and forth to starships, maybe then it'll be a thing. But nobody is giving up a console underneath the television set. People are still running out and buying. Guys, this is why I go crazy. This is why I go crazy. Cloud is the future. Meanwhile, what are we up to? 8K televisions? 12K televisions? People are running out and buying these 70-inch screens to do what? To do what? To stream poor quality to it? Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do that. Why would you buy a television then? That size. I got an 8K television, but I can use xCloud and get maybe 720p to 1080p fuzzy on it. Let's do that. No, they're buying these things because they want these big boxes underneath of it that push out 4K, that push out great graphics, that push out amazing games to their televisions. That's why they do it. The old saying, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Microsoft's got these birds in the bush somewhere, these 2 billion birds that are out there in the bush, that they completely ignored the bird that they had in their hand during the 360 generation. It was a big bird. And they ignored it for the 2 billion birds in the bush. And here we are. Here we are, trying to figure out what's going to happen next with Starfield. I tweeted out, Starfield will be no less than an 8 out of 10. Hold on. Starfield will be no less than an 8 out of 10, I said. I can guarantee that because of the debacle that is Redfall right now. And I'm going to stand by that. If I'm wrong, somebody will get a gift card for PlayStation or Xbox of their choice. But I stand by that. I think Starfield will be an 8 out of 10 at least. At least an 8 out of 10 when all is said and done. And I think they're scrambling behind the scenes right now to make sure that that happens after this. Maybe they were to begin with. I'm not saying they weren't working hard behind the scenes to make sure Starfield was good. But they said they were working hard to make sure Crackdown 3 was good. They said they were working hard to make sure Halo Infinite was good. They said they were working hard to make sure Redfall was good. And here we are. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Coming up on an hour. I appreciate everyone that stopped by. True Virgil, Mark, Johnny Mac 024. Who else was in here? Nintendo Cove. I appreciate you stopping by, Sean. That's about it. Did I miss anybody? Oh, I'm sorry. DeFloyd, thanks for stopping by. Let me know what you think about this. Thanks for watching.